Good evening from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's 6:27 p.m. on Monday, I think it's Monday, Easter Monday, the 21st of April 2025. So had a quiet day. I promised myself this morning that I would take a break from making jewellery because it stressed me out of my girls that I kept failing at that cuff. I'm a bit distraught about it still. I'll get over it and try it again, probably in a few days to a week's time, but at the moment I'm sulking. I'm giving myself permission to sulk people. Oh. But anyway, it was a beautiful day, and then it went all murky and rainy at 3 p.m. and I had a very strange phone call from a volunteer from the Greens Party. I don't know why they keep ringing me, politicians. I hate them all equally. I've told them that before, but they keep trying. It's like they try and seduce you and lure you and groom you into their cults, and they are. The language she kept using was so cultish that it gave me the heebie-bloody-jeebies. Nice enough woman, but deluded. Deluded. In denial, have no idea what's been done to my species, my fellow humans that I too am a human. So I'm livid beyond belief. They're just completely delusional, and it's terrifying. People are quite terrifying and chilling. But anyway, I managed to go out and buy some groceries prior to that weird phone call with that lady, and got a few groceries in. So I spent the evening. Earlier evening, late afternoon-ish, making chicken soup from the roast chicken I bought. Chicken and corn soup, but I threw in some zucchini and a few mushrooms and some spices, Indian spices I'm quite partial to. I throw them in everything. I told my Indian neighbour once, he was horrified. You put garam masala in that? And I went, well, I do. I'm cross-cultural. I'm not rigid in my thinking about how things are allegedly supposed to be done. I just go with what tastes nice. He was horrified. Probably broke some ancient Hindu culture food sin, but garam masala a little bit tasted quite nice in my chicken and corn soup. Threw in a bit of ginger as well. It's all very yummy. Anyway, so I've been sitting here watching You, about a serial killer, on the final season on Netflix, and I thought I'm kind of bored now, and I might read a story to my YouTube audience and my YouTube subscribers that like listening to the dulcet tones of my voice droning on, reading weird and wonderful magical stories. So I thought I would read this one, Ghost Stations 2, which means there must have been a Ghost Stations 1, but I only got book 2. True Ghost Stories by Bruce Barrymore Halfpenny. And I won't bother reading the long acknowledgements, which are quite wonderful. Thanks everybody he's ever met, which is quite wonderful. Gratitude and deep respect and honour is a thing. So I'll jump to the next bit of writing that he starts the book with, which is a poem. So I'll read what he's got here, shall I? Yes, I shall. This poem, Echoes, was specially composed for me by my good friend John Roy Walsh for this book, and it sums up very well the feelings of the old wartime airfields, gone, but many earthbound spirits remain. Echoes. There are sounds out there if you listen, sad voices from the past, on the brooding silence of any drone when the purpling night falls fast. Walk soft past the crumbling nissans. Are there whispers on the air? Does ghost meet ghost in the brief twilight? Are pale phantoms murmuring there? Lost spirits of the Commonwealth, Empire and allied kin, are they out of sight in the fading light each night as the dusk draws in? Stroll past the gaunt dark hangars. Is that the reek of engine oil? Do the shades of long dead riggers work on in their endless toil? Walk on the wind-swept runways where once the Lancs sought flight. Is the haunting song of the Merlin strong, a pulse through the long sad night? Traverse the long stilled firing butts where no more the Brownings bark. Would you dare the ghosts of yesteryear? Come the threat of the looming dark? I'll just quickly show you the pictures. The once busy Nissan huts lie abandoned around the old bomber airfield at Lisette. The ghostly remains of Alvington Control Tower, which today has been brought back to its wartime standard. I should read you the book about Middle Baldura that I have from that Case bought in one of his trips back to that former concentration camp. It's grueling and harrowing reading though. But there'll be plenty of ghosts there too. Thousands of them. The ghostly remains... Oh, I read that, sorry. Right. This next poem relates to an old Lancaster bomber, forever grounded in an air museum, its duty done. It stands proud as the ghost squadrons take to the air. This was the last poem written by Walt Scott, who served in the 630 Squadron, whose motto was Nocturna Mor, Death by Night. Number 630 Squadron formed at East Kirkby near Spilsby in Lincolnshire, and it remained based there until it disbanded on 18th of July 1945. I'll just show you the photo. It stands proud and silent at the Bomber Command Museum in Hendon. That's what the Germans used to see coming for them. Showpiece, Lancaster. I dream now of another time, of soaring wings and slipstream wine, of arc screw arcs and engine drone, and cloudy canyons I have known. Once we were many and we knew the love of thousands, our air crew. So many lovers past recall, yet we were faithful to them all. When towering columns split the night with brilliant beams of searching light, there in such moments we became small insects round a naked flame. And with us then our young men knew An eighth unwanted crewman flew, he whispered, taunted, often near, unseen but known, for he was fear. Time after time we saw the cost to all who fought so well yet lost, for them a fiery plunge through space, and another time, another place. For you, old lovers, youth has gone, relentless, time is moving on, with arms outstretched, with measured pace, to take you all in cold embrace. Time has not marred my grim old frame, to your fading eyes I am the same. Look well, all strangers standing there, for I am the mighty Lancaster. I lie here still beside the hill, abandoned long to nature's will, my buildings down, my people gone, my only sounds the wild bird's song. But my mighty birds will rise no more, no more I hear the merlin's roar, and never now my bosom feels the pounding of their giant wheels. From the ageless hill their voices cast thunderous echoes of the past, and still in lonely reverie their great dark wings sweep down to me. Laughter, sorrow, hope and pain, I shall never know these things again, emotions that I came to know of strange young men so long ago. Who knows, as evening shadows meet, are they with me still, a phantom fleet? And do my ghosts still stride unseen across my face so wide and green? And in the future, should structures tall bury me beyond recall, I shall still remember them, my metal birds and long dead men. The shroud of growing shrubs and trees can never fade old memories, for I hear still the distant drone of absent friends returning home. W. Scott, April 1975, X 630 Squadron. The once busy runway of RAF Lisette, overgrown and reduced to just a cart track, an eerie silence broods. The old wartime control tower of Thorpe stands defiant against the elements, keeping aloft its ghost squadrons. Ghost stations. Baron Barrymore help me. April 1990. Nobility no less, my loves. And nobility. Chapter 1. Setting the scene. Ghosts, ghouls, spirits, superstition, and strange paranormal events. Are there such? If so, where does one end and the other begin? Are there earthbound spirits, and are some places more haunted than others? It is understandable that people tend only to accept what they can see and hear with their normal senses. Therefore, it is very difficult for many people to believe in ghosts and the supernatural. But in the following pages we have stories from down-to-earth people who have nothing to gain by saying what they saw or heard. In fact, many were reluctant to tell me about them for fear of being called silly. But they are not silly just because we mere mortals cannot understand. Many strange paranormal events take place when we least expect them, indeed. As I have said before, it is not necessarily the bewitching hour of midnight which animates the ghosts and ghouls, neither is it necessary for the location to be the hallowed ground of some ancient churchyard or burial place. Ghosts, ghouls and other phantoms can show up at any time, day or night, taking many forms. In the story, A Ghostly Reunion, Sylvia Tucker entered the spirit world on a hot summer's day during her visit to the old wartime airfield of RAF Skellingthorpe, near Lincoln. A ghost has recently appeared at the BBC studios in London. Maureen Trotman and Francis Tott were working in the Radio 2 studios when suddenly the ghost, an elderly, distinguished gentleman, appeared in the open doorway, then vanished. The two women were very frightened on seeing the ghost. It is thought the ghost had been disturbed by workmen during building work in the cellars of the Langham building, and that he dates back to when the building was in use as a hotel called the Langham Hotel. The spectre is that of an old duke or lord who jumped to his death from the hotel window sometime during the last century. Many people have seen the ghost, including disc jockey Ray Moore and James Alexander Gordon, who threw his boot at the ghostly gentleman and then fled. Like, that's going to work, people of Earth. Just simply ask them who they are and what their message is. Although I did upset Sir James Douglas by asking him if he was named after the whiskey. There is that, people of Earth. There is that, my one spiritual faux pas. Anyway, probably not my only one, to be truthfully known. I'm the queen of the faux pas at times. Faux, faux, faux. Pa, pa, pa. One strange paranormal event was the evil witch's chair which Mrs. Jane Sumner purchased, but quickly decided to get rid of it after the chair refused to stay where it was put. On the first night, it walked halfway across the floor, she said. The whole house seemed full of fear and foreboding. On entering the house, I could feel evil coming down the stairs. One night I returned home to find a jackdaw sitting on top of the chair. Mrs. Sumner moved the chair, an unusually well-preserved oak wainscot which dated back to 1684 and was reputed to have been used as a seat in which Scottish witches were tried and condemned. What do you expect bringing something so horrific into your house? Bloody hell. All that trauma soaked into that chair. Ugh. Anyway, and to her antique shop in Saffron Walden near Cambridge. But overnight, the antique shop became filled with spiders, giant spiders, all drawn like a magnet around the evil chair, and one, the size of a mouse, was found at the base of the chair. Had the evil witch's chair cast a spell? For Mrs. Sumner, who says she is not normally superstitious, enough is enough. It was terrifying. From the information collected over the years, airfields are the most haunted places in the world, and every airfield is haunted in some ghostly form. Eerie footsteps, ghostly lights, slamming of doors, ghostly music, phantom dogs, phantom aeroplanes, ghostly voices from beyond the grave, phantom airmen that vanish before your eyes, and from the empty buildings, the gentle whiff of perfume. The airfields host the earthbound spirits, which refuse to fade away with the passing of time. Which can get a little bit annoying at times, people of Earth. I shall always see the blurred faces of the young men of No. 2 Group Bomber Command, said Ex-Corporal Lawrence Round of Stourbridge. Or was it Stourbridge? S-T-O-U-R Bridge, Stourbridge. For in the early days of the war, they often lost 50% of their aircraft and crews. It's a lot of men to lose. To see the vacant dispersals when the squadron returned was heartbreaking, but next day the losses would be made good. Do those brave young men who now ride the night skies forever return in their supernatural form to their home bases? One who seems to think so is Gordon West. Over the years I have noticed without any doubt that Royal Air Force Scampton is very much alive on the 16th and 17th of May in any given year, this being the anniversary of the Dan's raid, he said. I feel too that as the raid, in terms of the paranormal, commences at Scampton and continues over the Dams area, I would like to see some sort of scientific experiment to see if the raid does in fact run its full course to the exact time on the actual anniversary. After I had been on the BBC radio programme Ghost Watch, dozens of people contacted me. I listened to you on Dennis McCarthy's Ghost Watch programme on 31st of October 1987, and I agree with you that there must be ghosts on every wartime airfield, said Mrs. Carol Marshall. At Lindholm, when I go for a walk on the airfield, I don't know why, but I always feel sad. I suppose it's knowing how many people died fighting for our country. Many military hospitals are reputed to be haunted, one being Edinburgh Castle, which embodied a military hospital during the last war and has a lone piper, a ghostly piper. Legend has it that a certain piper went into a tunnel at the castle and never came out. The tunnel was used during the Second World War, and for some reason it required guarding. Pardon me. Many who did guard duty reported seeing a lone piper disappear into the tunnel. The soft wail of his bagpipes could be heard at certain times. Not everyone who saw the lone piper heard the bagpipes, but one man who did see the piper and hear the bagpipes was absolutely terrified and refused to go near the place. At the time, he was said to be the unbelieving type and not the imaginative kind. So, was it haunted? But there is no doubt that Netley Military Hospital was and still is haunted. See the Grey Lady story. But not all ghosts are on airfields. Yes, I think they are the most haunted places. After the sad death of my good friend, actress Diana Dawes, her housekeeper, Mrs. Honor Webb, claimed that Diana's ghost visited her at their Berkshire home. 5 months after Diana's death, her husband, Alan Lake, shot himself. Mrs. Webb then claimed that he too haunted her. The hauntings were only stopped after she saw a clairvoyant. I knew Diana Dawes very, very well, and it was said that she was a believer in the supernatural. I never knew it. She, like all of us, had her little superstitions, but that was about all. And if Diana returned to haunt you, it would take more than a clairvoyant to make her go away. That I know. I knew Diana. So the question remains, are there such things as ghosts? Over the years, I have interviewed dozens and dozens of people who swear to either having seen a ghost or heard ghostly movements and felt icy cold drafts. I even have tape recordings made in a haunted squash court. And these really make your blood run cold and the hair stand on the back of your neck. But you must make up your mind. I am not trying to answer that question, merely put to you the facts and let you, the reader, or in this case, the listener, make up your own mind. Many people have claimed to have seen a ghost, and Worley Rectory in Essex is said to be the most haunted house in England. I'm smirking because, oh, never mind, TMI, you don't need to know that about me. It was destroyed by fire on 27th of February 1939. One of my few happy memories of an encounter with an Englishman. Let's just put it delicately like that. Very rare and few. So, to the Essex men who know how to behave and treat a lady, not really, but kind of, sort of. Anyway, at least I have a sense of humour about it, people of Earth. What did he ask me? Are you a girl from Kent or a Kentish girl? He thought I was from Kent because I had an English friend and I must have acquired a little bit of her accent at the time. I had no idea what he was referencing. And then when I told my friend about it, who actually did hail from Kent, actually my ancestors hailed from Kent too, Sheerness. But anyway, she said, oh, that's Anne Boleyn, one of the wives who lost her head to King Henry VIII. She said, how delightful. No, I said, I'm not losing my head over that one. And we giggled like schoolgirls. And so it is, and so it was, and so it always shall be. The Mama-T must never lose her head over any men. Too much stuff and nonsense has gone down over the decades, people of Earth. Right, where were we? So, Borley Rectory in Essex was destroyed by fire on the 27th of February 1939. For 100 years it has attracted ghost hunters, and it is said the ruins are still haunted. Wasn't Borley Rectory the house bought by Alistair Crowley? Am I right about that? Sort of rings a bell somehow. Oh, no, it was some pop star. No, but I think he bought it because it had originally previously been owned by Crowley too. Anyway, I guess we'll find out. I'll just calm my farm and go with the story, people of Earth. Right. The house was built in 1863 on the site of a medieval monastery. Legend has it that a nun was walled up alive by the lord of the manor after breaking her vows. What a dreadful fate. The ghostly figure of a nun was seen in and around the building and in the churchyard of Borley Church, which was opposite the rectory. The list of strange happenings is endless. Bells would mysteriously peal, a phantom coach would flash by, doors would lock themselves, that would freak me out. Voices were heard in the empty chapel, and written messages appeared on the rectory walls. One read, "Get help." Another read, "Light, mass, candles." When the rectory burnt to the ground, people who were there claimed to have seen ghostly figures moving about inside the burning house. Later, bones and religious objects were discovered underneath the house, the supernatural, and back to religion. Strange way to end that sentence. Anyway. I have selected stories that are varied and dramatic, starting with Ghostwatch, and these are all true stories. Nothing has been changed. You read them as they happened. But before we read the stories, let us go back in time in order to try to understand the meaning of ghosts, ghouls, and the supernatural. With many people, it may not be due to anything supernatural, but merely hysteria. In some cases, that might be true, but not in my stories. It is true to say that the public have an enormous appetite for the unknown and the supernatural, and we are all monsters in our subconscious. Indeed we are, some more than others. Because of our lustful, blood-curdling chills, films about Dracula and Frankenstein from the Hammer House of Horror have delighted millions of fans. The horror output from Hammer was gobbled up eagerly by the public at large, and with the coming of television, it started all over again. One of Hammer's slogans was, "Dracula drinks what Frankenstein spills." The difference with the Hammer House of Horror stories and my stories, mine are true. So if their films were a chilling experience, mine will freeze you solid. The history of Europe. For several ages after the death of Charlemagne, Charlemagne, is little more than a catalogue of crimes and a register of the debasing effects of ignorance and superstition. Superstition, still so today, for an opinion poll carried out in France in 1985, stated that 18% of the French people believe in the supernatural and sorcery. It's quite a long time ago. Let's just find out when this book was published, just so we know how far back his references are going to, just out of academic interest. First published under title of Arg, May 1988. Printed again in November 1989 and reprinted as Ghost Stations 2, January 1991. Right, so he's referencing anything in that time frame, people there, which makes sense. Unbelievable but true, and the Jura region of eastern France is top of the list. It was at the little town of Vesoul in early 1988 that their belief in the supernatural wavered a little after their pockets were relieved of thousands of French francs. This happened after a self-styled priest-cum-witch doctor from Guinea arrived in the town and advertised as follows: Monsieur Mohammed, celebrated soothsayer and practitioner of the supernatural, open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m, telephone for serious and efficacious treatment. At first business was very slow, but when it became known that he never asked for a fee, business became very brisk. Then, when his client was well and truly hooked, he let slip his secret that would guarantee to double any sum of money placed between the pages of his sacred book. The people of Vesoul quickly jumped at the chance to double their money, and the sacred book was soon bulging with over 300,000 French francs, about 30,000 pounds. At that stage, Muhammad said he must retire for 48 hours of uninterrupted solitude in order to cast his secret spells and call on the supernatural. They never saw him again. Gone was Muhammad, his sacred book, and their money. For the people of Vesoul, it was a very bad blow, for it was the third time they had been caught. In August 1987, Maître Diaby, a sorcerer from Senegal, was doing good business, freeing people from evil spells by means of demagnetization at 100 French francs a time until the police put a stop to it. The local police then had a very difficult time in getting anyone to testify against someone with such supernatural powers. Such were their beliefs. Can we draw a line between superstition, the supernatural, and ghosts, or are they one of the same and all in the mind? What is a ghost? A ghost is a soul or spectre of a dead person, usually appearing as a nebulous likeness of the deceased. The belief in ghosts stems back to ancient times when people believed the spirit is separated from the body at death, and many become earthbound. Even today in some parts of Scotland, sneezing on Halloween is considered dangerous because the soul might leave the body. This belief stems from the dark days. Even today, many old people cover mirrors on Halloween to prevent their souls being captured by the reflected image and becoming earthbound. But why earthbound spirits? Are they earthbound or from another world? Douglas Durkin from Owen Sound in Canada might have part of the answer. I am not a dedicated spiritualist, but I believe death to be just another time zone that only certain types can fathom or see through, as it were. As most of these sightings seem to occur in England, which is the Greenwich time zone from which world times are calculated, one wonders. And he added, no one seems to see phenomena like this in Canada, which is ridiculous. There's many ghost stories from Canada. Watched a wonderful ghost show in Canada. I can't remember what it was called now. It was quite wonderful.
Hello.
Oh!
I'm Joe.
Oh, hello. He gave me a fright.
You don't know me yet, that's okay.
Yes, I don't know you
I
yet.
know you.
I don't want to interrupt you by
No.
reading. Give me a terrible fright.
We're meant to be together.
Goodbye. 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 Why is it not turning off? Well, how very droll was that? All I could hear was this male voice going, hello, you don't know me yet? Oh, you have to have a giggle. That was hilarious. I actually worried about that. I thought, oh, maybe I should have turned off the TV. I'm like, no, it'll be right. What a spooky thing to happen. But anyway, oh, the frisson. Oh, the frisson. The only excitement that happens is when my TV interrupts my YouTube videos with discarnate voices from serial killers. Oh, the frisson. Anyway, right, where were we? A time zone is an interesting theory, and why not another time zone? It could be. Douglas Durkin went on to say that only certain types can see into this time zone. Again, I believe that to be true. An excellent example of this is shown in the Colby Grange story with Adrian Railton and his friend. Adrian did not see the ghost, but his friend did. This is quite often the case. The time zone is an interesting theory, but what Douglas Durkin says about ghosts not being seen in other parts of the world is not true. I can dispel that with the story. The Megalodon mystery, which was in Burma, and ghouls are from foreign shores. The original spelling of ghoul was Ghuls, and from the Middle East. It's a Middle Eastern word. From ghosts, let us look at the meaning of ghoul. Here he goes on to explain it. This comes from the Arabic ghoul, Ghul, and in legend, ghouls were the offspring of Iblis, the Muslim prince of darkness. And they roamed the deserts and burial grounds in Arab countries. A ghoul has no specific image and can assume any disguise. They are also said to set fires at night to lure people away from the main roads, and when successful, killed and ate them. Was it ghouls that caused the fire that Brandon White witnessed? If so, they were lucky not to take notice of the fires. It could have been when the word ghoul, Ghoul, entered English tradition, it became identified as a grave robbing spirit that feeds on dead bodies, a rather gruesome spirit. Their presence is recognizable by their unalterable sign, asses' hooves. By that they mean donkeys. So if you witness a ghoul, look for the telltale sign of the ass's hooves. Brendan White should have done so. A poltergeist is the name given to a noisy, unseen spirit that throws items about and moves furniture and other objects. Many people think it is an evil spirit, but that is not the case. This stems back to the old days of primitive religion, and, if it could not be understood, it was said to be evil. This was the story behind the haunted Red House at Ludford in Lincolnshire. But with having been confronted by a ghost, I asked William Bill Whitehead of Birmingham if he had felt afraid. Many folk tend to believe that ghosts mean violence, death, and ill harm, yet I have never found any substantiation for this, he said. I was present on a few occasions when the ghost entered our cabin, and at no time did he make any violent move towards any of us. See Murder Cabin story. So are you yet convinced? Has the door just opened and no one came in? Can you smell flowers? Listen, is it only the wind? Walt Scott, who it appears I shall be haunted by for quite some time, who so kindly wrote an alternative last verse. Someone else just burst out laughing. Yes, there is a history, darling. The living and the dead, former wannabe lovers, if not true lovers, like to stalk and haunt me, sometimes long after their death too. We're not inviting that one to this party of consciousness, but I can tell by the sarcastic laughter that he enjoyed that almost as much as I did, you understand. Right. All right, I have to say it again. No connection to anyone I know, living or dead. Walt Scott, who so kindly wrote an alternative last verse for his poem Old Airfield, specially for this book, also wrote the special poem showpiece Lancaster. Walt, who served during the war years with 630 Squadron, said, I have always been interested in the supernatural, the supposedly factual, that is, and I think most people are, even the avowed unbelievers themselves. Walt Scott is not the only one to be interested in the supernatural, and, paradoxically, honestly, how does this keep happening? This is every book, every story for the last few stories. It's enough already. I'm moving on, people, a bit. I'm moving on. Don't have time for people who are cruel and sadistic and vicious. Too many nastinesses have occurred. So, Mama Two's done. She's done. But the synchronicities keep occurring. So, the spirits, the consciousness of that connection is still needing to recede and wash itself away and fade out. Oh, it happens eventually. Right. 14-year friendship is a bit hard to wash away, but it'll get washed. Trust me on that one. Walter Scott is not the only one to be interested in the supernatural, and paradoxically, the most radical division between the natural and supernatural stems from religion. Hence the reason why today we see so many of the church trying to rid the world of these earthbound spirits. Why? It was they who created the supernatural. Christianity arose with doctrine dealing with the ultimate destiny of mankind and the world with the immediate coming of the kingdom of God. Look how that worked out for billions of people across the globe. Shh. It's Easter Monday after all. Let them have some lovely things. The Christian faith refuses to accept the world as it is, and when Christianity absorbed the religion of the Hellenistic world, it created a gulf between this world and the transcendent realm. Over the years, the church has let the gap widen. Today, God is isolated and not part of the created world, which is insanity, people, since God is everywhere and in everything and everyone. Yes, even the malicious ones at times. With this, the gulf between the natural and the supernatural has become impossible to cross. As a result, the distinction between the natural and the supernatural has been blurred for the masses and in many cases rejected. It is a step back in time into the mythical sacred realm, and it is significant that there are more Christians haunting this funny old world than anyone else. It makes one think, indeed. There are more ghostly monks and nuns seen walking around than any other characters. And when one considers the disasters that have been plaguing the world for centuries, it makes one wonder whether or not all is in order. With the doubt in Christianity, people look towards the supernatural, and this has given birth to Ghostbusters and the like. There are now doctors and scientists who probe the supernatural, and theosophy is the system of knowledge claiming a divine source for all phenomena. What do scientists of the supernatural do? And why are they doing it? Well, two scientists, John Mark and Alan Jenkins, have an ear for ghost busting, for they believe that sounds from the past are absorbed and trapped in the walls of buildings. They are now working on trying to release any ghostly sounds electrically from a haunted public house in Wales. In 1987, Professor Robert Morris became Britain's first professional ghostbuster. He holds the Koestler Chair of Parapsychology at Edinburgh University. Wouldn't mind going to study that actually. I think I'd enjoy that. Arthur Koestler, writer and journalist, and a lifelong believer in the supernatural, left 5 £100,000. My goodness. To any British university who would agree to set up a chair in parapsychology. Koestler, who committed suicide in 1983, must be laughing from the world beyond, for parapsychology, as Americans term psychic research, was a subject which most scientists refused to take seriously. Now, Psy, for short, is respectable. But to bring in the scientists in this field as the psychic ghostbusters is another matter. So, will the scientists solve the ghosties and the ghoulies and things that go bump in the night, now that ghostbusting is respectable? I think not. Even with all the big names behind it. Prince Charles is a firm believer in the paranormal. Does he have any psychic powers? No, but a recent painting is a bit of a worry, isn't it? By the gods. Today there are many scientists with a finger in the supernatural. One of Britain's most distinguished is Professor Arthur Allison, who at the tender age of 7 became interested in theosophy. At Edinburgh University, Dr. John Beloff is Senior Lecturer in Psychology. Other names in the paranormal field are Kenneth Batcheldor and Dr. Alan Gould. Dr. Gould has devised some sophisticated ghost-busting equipment and brought ghost hunting into the computer age. Dr. Gould is Senior Lecturer in Psychology at the University of Nottingham and still takes part in ghost hunts. Maybe I need to go there. In October of 1987, I asked Dr. Gould his view about it all as a psychic researcher and if he had ever seen a ghost. His answers were short and sweet. Uncertain to my first question, and no to my second. He's never seen a ghost, and he's a researcher. I find that a bit odd. Mind you, I didn't see my first ghost till my beautiful cat Moggy appeared to me just not long before I left the marriage, actually. 1994, I think it was. It's my first ghost I've ever seen. I was quite astonished. There he was, perfectly, even with the shading of his white and black markings, perfectly appearing to me, but transparent, you understand. That's how I knew he was a ghost. But I haven't seen many ghosts, but the first human ghost I saw was Sir James Douglas, right beside my bed, 2018, which was rather an astonishing experience, to be honest. I think for him as much as for me. I don't know what happened there, why he came to visit me, but he was so annoyed when I asked him his name and he said Black Douglas, and I said, isn't that a whiskey? But he vanished instantly in a fit of pique, and I've never seen him again. I'm disappointed about that because I wasn't meaning to be insulting. I just didn't know who Black Douglas was till I googled him after that event. Anyway, he might come back one day and actually communicate with me. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Or I think I've completely lost my mind, but no. He wanted to communicate with me, I believe. I just kind of blew my chance, but I wasn't very well at the time and a mild fever. So I actually wondered if I was hallucinating at first. But when I looked away and looked back and he was still there, I realised that he was definitely revealing that he was wanting to your presence and wanting to communicate or show his presence on some level. It was a bit odd. Well, I wasn't reading books about, Robert the Bruce or that history either. Couldn't blame it on dredging something up from your subconscious like that. Anyway, one day I will find out what his connection to me is. Perhaps he's an ancestor, or perhaps he's a protector, or a guide, or I don't know. I just don't know. It's not knowing things really grinds my gears sometimes. I like closure, and I like to know what was behind things. Curious minds. Right, now where were we? It is now possible to get a PhD in parapsychology, which Webster's third New International Dictionary defines as a science concerned with the investigations, especially by experimental means of events that are apparently not accounted for by natural law and that are considered to be evidence of mental telepathy, clairvoyance, and psychokinesis. The latter is now what the power of mind over matter is called. Gypsy Rose Lee has now been replaced by the scientists. It's a bit of poetic license if you ask me. But anyway. But has all this gone too far? The author asks. For the layman, yes. In America, one man from the Survival Research Foundation has been trying to make contact with the dead. But they're not really dead. Do you not understand this? It's ridiculous to say that they're dead if their consciousness can still come and interface with you. They're clearly just as alive as we are, but some other form in another dimension.